Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DTV. My name is Leila Modarres. I'm the CMO of InfoStretch, and we are very excited to bring you back to the Digital Transformation channel. Today, we have Jim Shilts,
Correct.
who is the founder and president of the North American DevOps Group. Welcome, Jim,
Thank you very
to
much.
DTV.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the North American DevOps Group. You created it in 2015.
Correct.
So can you shed some light on what the impetus behind that was and what you were hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I was really trying to create a community that would allow people of like-minded individuals, people interested in DevOps, people interested in general software delivery improvement, to get together, share ideas, but to do it in a fun way. I mean, I've been to a lot of meetup groups that are very technical, very hands-on keyboard type of events, which are great, but I think people are missing kind of that other aspect of DevOps, which is the cultural and sharing aspect. So we try to fill that void. The events we do are usually a couple of hours. We'll have a guest speaker or a tech panel, but we also incorporate a lot of social activity into the events as well to get people to interact and participate in the conversation. Even with the guest speaker, they're really acting as a facilitator for the discussion to get everyone else to kind of bring their ideas to the table.
And how are you finding some of the different hurdles in DevOps in North America? You're talking about cultural. Is it mostly technical hurdles or cultural hurdles or both? And how do you kind of weigh that out?
I mean, I would be tempted to say right off the bat, definitely cultural, right? But there's something to be said for if you can fix a technical challenge, that makes the culture better, and vice versa. So I think some people try to focus on either the culture first, because I think that's where they should start, and they really struggle with that, or they only focus on the technology and aren't really thinking about the longer processes. But I think really if you can find any successes, if you have a success in a process that make developers happy, that allow them to be more creative, that's going to create better culture, right? And vice versa. If you have a good culture, people are going to be more motivated to create better processes.
Right.
So the culture piece is challenging, but you got to focus on both.
And just going back to the DevOps group, what kind of companies or what kind of organizations are members, and what titles would they be?
So the organizations are everybody you can think of, right? From strict software companies to universities, federal type of companies, retail, web-based companies, everything.
Right.
The size of the companies is, I would say, 2/3 of them are like $1 billion and above, so somewhat larger companies. But we get some smaller, some startups as well. The types of people who come, about 1/3 of them have director and above titles, so we consider executives. And then the other 2/3 are some development people, some DBAs and QA people. So a lot of really good representation of the entire SDLC, which is what we're really striving for, because I think it's important for the CIO to hear the perspective of the developer and vice versa, and everyone else.
Right. And as we talked about earlier, the DTV program is primarily geared to help, viewers understand the different interpretations of digital transformation, which is a very widely used term these days, as you can imagine. So I guess my question is, do you think that DevOps is propelling digital transformation, or is it vice versa, where digital transformation and the initiative to do that at many organizations is propelling more DevOps?
Yeah, I think it's the latter for sure. I mean, the business is king, right? What the business needs is what everyone else has to do. So if the business needs to get more things online, they need to get more members to sign up for their services online, they need to provide more features for them. The technical side has to figure that out, and they have to do it faster. Businesses want things faster. If you're an auto manufacturer and you got to keep up with the guys down the street, software is key to that. Everyone knows the term DevOps at this point, right? But somebody told me at one of our events, if I ask 10 people for a definition of DevOps, I get 11 different answers.
Yeah.
Which I thought was perfect, right? Because no one agrees on it. They're all kind of in the realm. I think people mistake DevOps for automation. They mistake it for CI/CD, which are aspects of it, but that's not really what it is. So we spend a lot of time in our group really bringing that conversation to the table. Let's all talk about what CI/CD is. Let's talk about the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment. Right? Those are different things.
Right.
And then DevOps on top of that. So I think that's kind of where we'll get to. But at this point, I think a lot of people struggle with it because they misinterpret what DevOps even means.
Right. And do you have a standard definition for DevOps that through the years you've come up with, or is it?
Yeah. What I try to do, I use the CALMS or the CALMER acronym, depending on which of you've adopted, in culture, automation, lean, measurement, and sharing, or replace sharing with recovery. Right, is the R. I think that's a really good way to explain it, because you have to think about DevOps as a way, not a specific action, but it's a way of doing things as a whole, right? I like to use the Phoenix Project as an example too. In that book, a lot of people talk about, well, which software should I use to do this, or should I use to do that? And if you look back at that book, the first thing that guy did was he looked at the processes and said, I don't trust any of this. I don't trust the processes. I don't trust that when we request a change that it's actually getting through the right steps that it needs to get out into production. I don't trust that once it's in production that it's secure and everyone's signed off on it. So what he does is gets rid of all the software that are involved in their change request processes and replaces it with note cards or index cards, which is a very painful manual process, but it's a process that he trusted. And then he could take that trusted process and start to build it out and automate it more and get everyone else on board. And I think that's really what it's about, right? Making sure that the technical side and the business side are in sync. And even if the process is painful and manual, as long as everyone trusts it and understands it, then you can start to build it up and make it faster and more automated.
Also, with automation, there comes AI and a lot of these newer technologies that are out there. And for the tester, particularly for the manual tester, should they be concerned, or is manual testing in your book or in the association's book something that is a thing of the past and shouldn't even be accepted?
So I think test automation is definitely one of the top two. It's either number one or number two with the challenges people have today.
Right.
And some people say, well, it just can't be avoided. I have to have manual tests here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's really true or not, because I think other people have solved that problem, right? Some of the unicorn companies like the Googles and Facebooks and so on.
Right.
I mean, they have developers deploying code on day one. And it goes through all of the processes. It's all fully automated. I think that's a challenge. I think it's a challenge that people need to really think about and overcome if they want to accelerate their delivery process and they want to keep up. I'm not convinced that anything can be automated. And I think a lot of times things aren't automated because you go back to that whole trust issue, right? You might have an executive that says, no, you can't push code into production. I need to check it off first.
Right.
So they have this automated process that goes all the way to an executive, and he goes, oh, okay, it passed all the tests. I'll push the button to let it go into production. Whereas they could have built that into the process. But I think some people just aren't ready for that. Some people do have regulations, though, where they can't do that, right? Where they do have to have manual eyes on the process.
Yeah, which goes back to the trust point that you raised earlier, and a lot of it is cultural and evolving.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Well, this was extremely insightful. Is there anything else that you, or on behalf of the, association, feel you'd like to share with some of our viewers who are maybe interested in DevOps or how they can achieve that?
Yeah, I would encourage anybody out there. The group is totally free and open to anybody that wants to join, as long as they're in an IT or development or DevOps related role, whether they're a developer or a CIO. We have everybody attend these events. Because I think it really is important to get yourself out there, to expose yourself to not just the guy that's 3 desks down, but the guy that's 3 blocks down as well.
Right.
I mean, it's very easy to just stay focused on your job with blinders on and do that task, but you're missing the boat if you're not talking to other people who've already faced the same challenges that you have.
Right. Well, great. That's very helpful, Jim. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And thank you for joining us on DTV. This concludes our episode for now. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time on DTV.